what I just wanted to do with my last slide was share with you some of my thoughts after what I have worked through and what I have experienced. I guess these are my pearls of wisdom, if you will, of what pandemic would look like in the next 3 to 6 months as we're coming out of this environment, and then potentially what the future looks like. I think in the next 3 to 6 months, organisations are going to be very focused on cost control. We should see daily cross-functional meetings occur where there is challenge on every dollar spent. Major decisions would be made as to what capital investment should be made now or what should be delayed. But we're truly in a time where money is king. Through these cross-functional meetings, we should see CEOs and CFOs, depending on the size of the organisation, take a real personal ownership in the day-to-day running and the day-to-day spend. It's now not so much a time about being strategic, but it is a time of ensuring that we focus on continuous improvement with, the customer very much in mind. Now, with the customer in mind, organisations need to focus on customers of value. Now, and I'm not referring to customers who are going to pay the highest price. I'm talking about ensuring that those customers who are going to be with you for a long period of time are identified as your customers of value. Now, the Australian government has done this very well in procuring additional protection equipment through this pandemic. They didn't pay top price for face masks and gowns in the last couple of months. They actually entered agreements of longevity with their suppliers so that those suppliers provided the Australian government with favourable pricing over a longer period of time. We would expect to see the AAA description of some supply chains to be expanded. So when we talk about AAA supply chains, we're talking about agility, adaptability and alignment, specifically to the business strategy. But I think there's a +1, and I'm calling it an accelerated S&OP cycle. Now, yes, agility can also refer to speed, but an S&OP cycle now takes a month. That needs to reduce. It needs to reduce to about 2 weeks so that an organisation can appropriately respond to fundamental fast changes in demand and supply that would ordinarily be missed through a monthly cycle. So I'm calling out a AAA +1. Longer term, by that I mean, we're expecting a degree of stronger normality be in place in about 6 months' time. So towards the end of the year. Supply chains really need to drive a higher level of transparency so that they can understand what their supplier's supplier is doing. And that's not just from a pharmaceutical perspective. It has real ramifications within the automotive market. It has real fundamental influences on normal consumer purchasing habits as well. I would expect to see a real rebirth in Australian manufacturing where localised production is going to become paramount for critical materials. I think the age of cheap is best from particular countries will come to an end. We still will be sourcing cheap products from overseas because that's just human instinct, though there is now a greater awareness that cheaper is not necessarily best. And as a result of that, we should expect to see the emergence and growth of major markets through Southeast Asia, particularly countries like Vietnam. And we would also expect to see a rebirth in European and North American manufacturing. Supply chains and specifically procurement will be pursuing strategies of dual sourcing, ensuring that your specifications are like for like, but relying on a single supplier is now over. I think that the way an organisation develops its inventory strategies will fundamentally shift. I think, and through that, they will be doing a greater risk review of each of their SKUs and will apply inventory strategies and policies against that risk profile. There will be a significant growth in the interest of continuous improvement. And I'm not just talking about people going out and doing Lean Six Sigma courses or anything like that. I think the true value is going to be having the customer involved in that continuous improvement process. Many companies have fundamentally not included the customer. That's about to change. Again, and I spoke a little bit about employment mobility. I think organisations have been forced to operate in an environment where people aren't physically in the office, and we've proven that it can be done, and it can be done effectively. That will continue. And I think finally is very much this fundamental shift to really having the customer at the focus of your activity.